side. Bend your knees and bring your feet about hip width apart. Take a big breath in and let it out. So tonight, we're not judging or critiquing ourselves. We're just thanking our bodies for letting us move every day, like taking us to work, allowing us to work. And so we thank our bodies by providing it with good movement. So from here, we're going to get started with pressing into your feet to lift the hips. Now, they don't have to lift high. All we're trying to do is get the glutes to fire and create a neutral pelvis. So that might mean it's just like an inch off the ground. It might be a little bit higher. Think about the bottom of your pelvis reaching towards your knees so that it's not dropping down and you're not collapsing and putting load in the low back. So that's the purpose here. So glutes fire. You can even take the tips of the fingers into the glutes, press in. It's your butt. You can touch it and ask them to engage. Reach your hands to the sky from here and spread your fingers really, really wide. Take your left hand to your right fingers where they insert into the hand and pull back. So you're stretching out your wrist. Now you can leave that towards the sky or take it up overhead if that feels okay in the shoulder. If it doesn't, just keep it up towards the ceiling. And then we'll switch. So spread your left fingers really wide. Take your right hand to those left fingers and then pull them towards your face. Again, you can keep it up towards the ceiling where it is, or take it up and overhead. And then reach it back to the sky. If you took it overhead, release that, then roll through your wrist. So the fingers are just spreading and you're mobilizing through your wrist joint, and then reverse those. You can't do a lot of this, like you can't do wrong. You're just moving through the joint, moving in your body. And then lower your hips down if you still have them lifted. Bring the hands behind the head. And so we're going to interlace the fingers. If that doesn't feel right in the shoulders, the hands can be wider and you can just touch the back of the head wherever you need to. Elbows reach up to the sky. Take a breath in, exhale it out, and lift your shoulder blades off of the mat. So it does not mean that you have to lift up a lot. We're not doing a crunch. We're just lifting in order to get our deep abdominals working. So think about the sides of your ribs, sides of the body pulling in towards center. Okay, and we want to think about pressing the back ribs down. So if you feel you'll feel your back ribs on the mat, think about actively pressing them down here. Now lower down, lower the head. Take a big breath in, exhale, lift the shoulder blades off the mat. So it can be all or part, not judging ourselves. Okay, hug in and press your back ribs down. And the reason this is so important is because we often don't get in touch with our deep abdominals and they support our spine. So deep abdominals support the spine, the stability in the pelvis, our organs, our breath. Lower, inhale, exhale it out, and lift. Again, hugging the ribs in. Now, if you'd like, you don't have to, just one add-on here. We're gonna lift the right foot off the ground and then set it down and lift the left foot off the ground. Okay, actively pressing your back ribs into the mat. Okay, and then set both feet down, inhale to lower. It's our very last one. Give it all you got, breathe in. Exhale it out, lift the shoulder blades off the mat. Okay, and then option, if you want, lift the left leg, set it down, and you're just like marching in place. So you're just moving at your hip joint. And then lower both feet down, inhale and lower. All right, we're gonna bring the knees in towards us. Take your hands to your knees and then pull the knees in, let them go out wide to the sides, forward as much as you can, back together, and then towards you. So you're just making circles, but notice what's happening. So with the hands, we're moving our thigh bones. So these are your femur bones, and you're moving them inside the pelvis. And so what this creates is movement in your hip joint. So again, just the femur, the thigh bones moving inside the pelvis, which creates your hip joint. And so what we can also notice from that is that we're not moving the pelvis and we're not moving the low back. Because we're going to do this in a few different ways where we're a little more active to create more mobility in the hips. All right, and then bring the legs in towards you. You can rock forward and back or roll to your side, however you want to get up. Okay, so your choice, rock forward and back or roll to your side. Use your hands to lift yourself up and then come forward on to your hands and knees. Okay, check that the wrists are right under the shoulders and your knees are right under your hips. Press firmly into the hands. Then try and drag your hands back towards your knees and bring your chest forward. Okay, so just thinking about moving through the upper back. And then press into the hands and round through the upper back. Pull the hands towards the knees, pull the chest forward. So ideally, you're not moving in the pelvis or the low back. And then push, round through the upper back. Okay, take that a couple more times. And what we're doing is freeing up our thoracic spine. So you're just doing your best getting as much mobility in the upper back as you can find. Last one here. Now find a neutral. So what neutral looks like is what we looked like on our back. So think back of your head, the back of your skull, your shoulder blades, and your sacrum. So that's the very base of the spine. They're gonna all line up. So we're not letting the belly fall to the ground. We're thinking about working the core and keeping that long line. Press firmly into the hands and your right knee and slide your left foot back. You're on the ball of the left foot and then check back in. Is the back of the head, the shoulder blades, and the sacrum still in one line? If you need to, lift up a little bit more in the front of your body. Now this can be, if that's too much on the knee, you can take your blanket underneath the knee if you need to. Think about your left glute working in order to lift the left leg off your mat. And then pressing strong through the left heel. We're gonna bend our left knee. So you're gonna pull the left heel towards you. This is the challenge because right away you're gonna want to move in the low back or move in the pelvis. So remember, we're trying to stay strong and steady there. Keep the knee bent and pull the knee towards your belly as much as you can, and then out to the left, and then back again. So we're gonna repeat that, make circles in the left hip. But remember what we worked on, we're not moving in the pelvis and we're not moving in the low back. So it's probably a smaller movement than you think. And then reverse that circle. So we're putting our awareness with the femur bone, thigh bone, moving inside the pelvis. Okay, and then set your left knee down. You could take a little bit of movement, wiggle there, and then come back to neutral. Again, check in, back of the head, shoulder blades, and your sacrum are in one line. Reach your right foot back. Just slide it back on the mat. Pause for a moment and check back in. Try to keep that long line, core is engaging, then lift the right leg up. So now the right glute is firing as you extend through that right hip. Bend your right knee Feel the glute even more there. And then pull the right knee in towards you. It doesn't have to be a huge movement to be effective. So understand and remember that. Then bring it to the right, back behind you, and then pull it back in. So you're going to take a few on this side. This is working that mobility in the right hip, but your left is also working to help stabilize you from moving. And then reverse those circles. Okay, last one. Then bring your right knee down and we'll find child's pose for a moment. So sitting the hips back towards your heels as much as you'd like. The hands can stay long or the arms can stay long in front of you, or if it feels better for you, you can bend the elbows, let the elbows go out wide, and allow the forehead to come towards the ground. If it doesn't quite reach and you want to rest it on something, this is where a block could come in handy, or that blanket. Start to walk the hands over to the left side of the mat, and they might even come off of the mat. It's a nice lateral stretch here. Once you get the hands as far to the left as you can, press firmly into the hands, so like you're pushing them away from you. Then walk the hands to center and over to the right. Same thing here. And so you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be like a big fold. You can be up a little bit, and it's the same thing. So take the hands as far to the right as you can and then push away. Last breath here. Walk your hands back through center and then pull yourself forward into a table position. Curl your toes under. We're gonna lift to down dog. And if down dog's not for you, you can always stay in table. Okay, so we're just gonna take one here at the beginning. So curl the toes under. And Amanda, if you're working on that dolphin and you'd rather do dolphin, you can. So elbows under the shoulders. So as we make our way to down dog, feel free to keep the knees bent a lot or just a little. Think about pulling in the front of your body in order to create more length. Now, if this feels like too much weight on the hands, you can always take down dog with the hands on the wall if you want that nice back stretch. So hands would just come hip height on the wall, and then you walk the feet back so that they're right under the hips, and it's a version of your down dog on the wall. Okay, we'll take about 3 more big breaths. Okay, and then lower your knees down and walk your hands back towards your knees. Bring the hands to the outside of the pelvis and press in. So this is a nice little tactile feedback. So as you press into the outer hips, it's giving you the sense of stability. So once the hands are there pressing in, think about activating the muscles in order to hold you in that stable position. Okay, we're gonna step our left foot forward as gracefully as possible. I guess I should preface it. So left foot steps forward. Left hand is on your left thigh. Push into that thigh. So our hip is right over our right knee, and we're engaging that right glute. Push into the left thigh with your left hand and reach the right arm towards the sky. As you reach it up, you can lean a little bit to the left, but think about holding the front body in. So you're creating that space on the right side. Again, right glute is on. Take a big breath in and let it out. Okay, bring yourself back up and then bring the right hand down. It's going to come right under the shoulder. If this is a lot on the wrist for what we've been doing and you'd prefer to come onto the knuckle, you can. Curl your right toes, lift the right knee off the mat, or leave the knee down. Turn your torso to the left and then bring the left hand behind you. Now, I know it might not come all the way behind the back. It might even just come to the outer left side of the body. Roll your left shoulder back a little bit, and then allow your neck to release. If that feels okay, you're going to allow the head to hang towards the ground or towards your mat. One more breath. And then set the right knee down if you took it lifted. Bring the left hand down. Okay. From here, bring your left knee back to meet the right, and then find a cat-cow here for the upper back. So remember what we did earlier, just the upper back moves. Heart comes forward, and then round upper back towards the sky. And then come back to neutral. Just take a little wiggle to feel the difference in the sides of the body. And then walk your hands back to the legs, and then walk them up to the pelvis. Remember that nice squeeze you did with the hands. So just on the outside, press in, and then feel the glutes firm in order to try to create that neutral pelvis. Okay, ground into your left knee and step your right foot forward. It's more challenging than it looks. Press your right hand into your right thigh to essentially push the ground away, to keep your hip right over your left knee. Reach the left arm to the sky, and then reach it even more than you think you can take it. Pull in with those front ribs. So that's another reason we do the deep abdominal work at the beginning, because we want to use that in order to create more space. So think about the activation there and lift up. You can take that lateral stretch, so a little bit of a side bend to the right. One more breath. And now bring your left hand down under your left shoulder. So we have quite a few options. We can curl our left toes, lift the left knee off the mat. You can turn your torso to the right. Then an option to bring the right hand behind you or just to the side waist. Allow your neck to release if that feels okay. And our left shoulder blade or scapula is on the back ribs. So if it feels like that left shoulder is creeping up by the left ear and you're bringing it forward, try and draw it so that the shoulder blade's supporting you and your arm bone is essentially centrated in the joint. Last breath. Set your left knee down if you took it lifted, and then bring your right hand down and take your gaze down. Now this time, walk your right foot a little bit to the right and curl your left toes to lift the left knee off the mat. We're gonna step forward. So you can take your hands forward at the same time if you need to. However, you need to get the feet to the front. Bend into the knees in order to do that, and then walk the hands up the legs. Think about on the way up that strong core to help you lift. Okay, so coming up to stand. From here, we're gonna ground into our left foot and step the right foot back, turning to the side of the mat. So we're gonna be open up to the side, toes towards the side. Take your hands to the pelvis, so just the outside of the rim of the pelvis. Bend into your right knee and then straighten. Bend into your left knee and straighten. So the hands, we're going to repeat it, the hands on the pelvis give us feedback. And what we want to feel happening is that we are bringing our pelvis with us so that we're truly moving at the hip joint. Okay, so you want to feel the thigh bone going back in space. And you're bringing your whole torso with you. And then think about what we established earlier, that neutral. So back of the head, shoulder blades, and your sacrum are in one line. And so what does that mean? You're gonna feel a lot of core happening. Now pause over to the right. It doesn't have to be super deep, just feel it out for yourself. Take the weight into the right leg. So that might mean you wiggle the left foot a little bit closer. I'll mirror. So weight into the right, left foot is still on the ground. And then you're gonna turn the left toes to the sky. and then pivot so that the left toes go back towards where they were facing, and then left toes to the sky. And what we want to feel happening is our femur, thigh bone, moving. And that's the only thing that's moving. That's the hard part. Last one. And then bring those toes down. Shift to the left leg. So now you're bending into the left leg. Sit back so that you're creating even more flexion in the hip. So knee is behind the toes. And then take your attention to the right leg and pivot. So you're thinking about, again, the thigh bone moving. And this might be looking like this. You might be up high. And again, just think thigh bone moving, thigh bone moving. Okay, turn all the toes towards the side. We're gonna fold here. Bring the hands, again, into that hip crease, bend into the knees and sit back. Bring the hands down. And so now getting a nice back line stretch for the back side of the legs. Take a big breath in. So you can have the knees a lot bent in order to have the fingertips down or the palms down, or you could use a prop. You could also, if you're up a little bit higher, just rest the hands on the thighs. Take one more breath. Okay, now lift up and think about deep core working for you in order to lift up. Turn to the back of your mat and then step both feet together. Inhale, reach your arms forward and up to the sky, and then interlace the fingers, pressing the knuckles towards the ceiling. So you're just going straight up. I'll think about hugging your front ribs in so that we're not flaring. So that's contained. Then take it to the left. It's a lateral stretch here. Bring it back to the sky. Knuckles reach up even more. And then exhale it to the right. Creating length through the outer blade of your left foot all the way to the knuckles. Bring it back to the ceiling and then release the hands. Leaving your right foot forward, step your left foot back. Right foot forward, left foot back. Wiggle that left leg back and then start to bend into the right knee. Again, think about what we did a moment ago on the ground where so it's just a higher lunge so we get more hip extension. Keep the right hand on the right outer pelvis and reach that left arm up. And then press the knuckles towards the ceiling so you're making a nice fist and lift. Now rotate so that you're moving in the shoulder joint. So you're going to rotate and reach it back behind you. And then bring it forward and up. Rotate it, reach it back behind you, and you're clenching that fist, creating some tension there. Last one. And then reach it up. Now both arms reach up, straightening the legs. Bend into the right knee and hinge forward. We're gonna bring it down, hands to the fingertips to the ground. You could be using like your blanket, because I know most of us don't have a block. Bend a little bit more into the right leg. And then you might, depending on how you feel, lift the right toes, pressing into the ball of your right foot. Keep lifting up in the front of your body to create that space in the entire back line. Last breath here. Now, take your toes back down if you took it lifted. Bend back into the right knee. Take the hands to the outer pelvis and then press in like we did it earlier. And then press into both feet in order to lift up. So there's a nice eccentric stretch on the way up too. Turn the toes to the side of the mat and then turn the toes back to the front. Bend into your left leg, finding that lunge position. So it's not a deep lunge. We're not like leaning far forward or letting our pelvis move. We're trying to think about bending the right knee as well, sits bones towards the ground so that we have a neutral pelvis. And then keep your left hand on the pelvis, right arm reaches to the sky. Punch the knuckles up towards the ceiling and then rotate and reach it back. Bring it back up to the sky. Rotate, reach it back. Last one. And reach it back. Bring it back to the ceiling. Both arms reach up. And then you can step your right foot a little bit closer to the left to fold. And then here you have a few options. You can bend into your left knee. Pull the left toes towards you. Lift up in the front of your body. And so we do that, one, to incorporate our brain mapping, because we want to think about the core being engaged a lot in movement. It's supporting our spine. And then also when we pull in more at the front, we're creating that space in the back. You can feel it happening. Last breath. Set your left toes down. Then we're going to lower to the ground. So right knee comes down and then the left. Spin the feet to one side and then come on to your bottom. Bring the legs around. Hands come to the backs of the hamstrings and then we're going to roll to the back. Pull the knees in towards you and we'll set the right foot down and extend the left leg to the sky. Press the heel of the left leg up, pull the toes towards you. Point and point the toes towards the ceiling. So now you're getting that top of the ankle, plantar flexion in the foot. Take that a couple more times, pull the toes towards you, and then point the toes towards the ceiling. Last one. And then maybe a roll through that ankle. So bend the knee, set your left foot down, extend the right leg up towards the sky, pull the toes, and knee doesn't have to fully extend, you're just doing your best. It might be a little more forward too. Pull the toes towards you and then point. Last couple here. Okay, and then set the right foot down. Wiggle the feet a little bit wider than where they are and allow your knees to fall towards one another. So this is a slight internal rotation of the hip. If it feels like there's too much happening for you, wiggle the feet a little bit closer together. Okay. Think about the pelvis, so the back of your body settling into your mat. You might choose to stay here for this moment for our short shavasana, or you can extend the legs long, your choice. Allow the arms to open up by your side. Take a big breath in and let it go. If you feel like it's challenging for you to take this moment, you can always just pay attention to your breath, noticing your inhale and your exhale. You could also scan the body, asking each muscle to let go. If you're able to take a longer shavasana, stay where you are. Otherwise, start to wiggle the fingers, the toes, maybe wrist circles, ankle circles, perhaps a full body stretch. And begin to walk the feet in towards your hips. You could stay or roll to your side. And pause for just a moment to thank yourself for this 30 minutes of movement for your day. And lifting yourself up using the hands, coming up into a seated position, bringing the hands together in front of us. Remembering that we can only ask of ourselves, we can only ask ourselves to do our best. And so that's all that matters. Thanking our body through this good movement for carrying us, for taking care of us. I thank each one of you for allowing me to guide you tonight. I hope that you feel better and more aware and integrated in your bodies. We bow to ourselves and to one another. Namaste.